Reading for I Met You in a Story, Bob Jones University Press, 2nd edition. A Pocket Full of Money by Gail Fitzgerald. Illustrated by Dana Thompson and Noel.
It was obvious from the beginning that the plan was going to be a success. Almost everybody in Briar Cliff was planning to entertain guests during the town's 100th anniversary celebration, and practically no one had house numbers clearly displayed. It's like picking ripe blackberries, Beanie gloated as he and Frater met late Wednesday afternoon. They sat under the big oak tree in the center of the town park. Leaning against the tree, Frater wiped the sweat from his face and started to pull off his socks and shoes. "I don't know about that," he said, examining his blisters carefully. "Look at it this way," said Beanie as he began to scribble on his paper. We worked one day canvassing the whole town and signing up customers. Tomorrow we'll buy the paint and make number stencils. Friday we'll paint the house numbers on the curbs and collect the money. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Beanie snapped his fingers. "Not quite," Frater mumbled. "It's supposed to rain on Friday." "Says who?" "The newspaper." "Okay, then." Beanie crossed out something on one of his papers and scribbled over it. "We'll make the stencils tonight, buy the paint early tomorrow, and spend the day painting. No problem." Frater stretched out on the sun-parched lawn. The plan sounded like a snap when Beanie explained it, but somehow it already seemed like work. If he was going to sweat, he'd rather do it playing baseball. Frater closed his eyes and let out an imitation snore. Beanie sighed, sat down beside his friend, and took off his glasses, polishing them on his shirt. He made another appeal. "Look, we've got 53 names on our list." Beanie flipped through the sheets of names and addresses under Frater's nose. "If we collect $2 from each customer and split the net income, you'll be able to buy ice cream sodas for the rest of your life." Frater lay there, eyes still closed, smacking his lips. Beanie knew that he had pushed the right button. Suddenly, Frater rolled over. "What do you mean by net income?" "Net income is a term my dad uses a lot. It means what you have left after you pay your expenses." Frater's eyes narrowed. He felt like a mouse about to walk into a trap. This project of Beanie's had already cost him too much effort. "What expenses are we going to have?" Beanie rubbed his cheek while he thought. Then he began scribbling on the back of one of the papers. "One wide paintbrush for you, one smaller paintbrush for me, white paint, black paint, cardboard for stencils, figuring them at today's prices plus 4% tax. Let's see." Beanie's pencil flew as he added and multiplied, while Frater peered anxiously at the paper. "That means even with the expenses, we'll each clear a little over $50, Beanie announced triumphantly. Frater let out a yell and slapped Beanie on the back, sending his friend's glasses clattering to the sidewalk. "Sorry," mumbled Frater, picking up the glasses. "It's a good thing they're plastic." "Sure is, or you would have just spent your $50. Beanie returned his glasses to their position on his nose and glanced at his watch. "I'll get the cardboard on the way home. Come on over after dinner, and we'll make the stencils." "Sure thing." Frater picked up his shoes and socks and limped off down the street whistling. $50 for 2 days' work sounded like great to him. Beanie smiled. Life was looking up. Early Thursday morning, Beanie hurried down the street, straightening his papers while trying to hold on to his stencils and push his glasses back into position on his nose. As he rounded the corner by the hardware store, Beanie caught the sight of Frater. "Sorry I'm late," Beanie yelled, puffing it to his friends. "But the baby got a hold of my list of customers and colored all over the back of it." Frater grinned. "Did your mother say it was your fault for leaving them where you could get to them?" Beanie nodded. Your mother says that too, huh? Well, come on. The hardware store has been open for 10 minutes already. Beanie pushed open the door to the hardware store, and Frater stumbled in behind him. Hey, Mr. Akers, we need some black and white paint in a hurry. Mr. Akers scratched his head. I don't know as I've ever seen a can of black and white paint. A person has to buy one can of each and keep them separate, or he'll come out with gray. Beanie sighed. He didn't have time for one of Mr. Akers' long-winded discussions. Okay, give me a can of black and a can of white. Now, son, don't get your horses going too fast. Mr. Akers shuffled over to the distant shelf. Do you want oil-based paint or water-based paint? He peered over his glasses at the two boys. Beanie looked at Frater with raised eyebrows. Frater shrugged his shoulders. Beanie turned back to Mr. Akers. What's the difference? Well, now, the two are just not the same. Quite a bit different, I'd say. Mr. Akers rubbed his chin. In the first place, water-based paint is much cheaper. In the second place, Beanie didn't give him a chance to finish. We'll take the water-based paint and a large brush and a small brush. Beanie counted out the money on the counter, standing first on one foot, then on the others. Mr. Akers bagged the paint and brushes. The boys grabbed the bag and headed out the door. Mr. Akers stood shaking his head. Youngsters are always in a hurry. Walking briskly down Main Street, Beanie went over the plans with Frater. You take the first sheet of paper and start painting a white block on the curb in front of each customer's house. Meanwhile, I'll go to the door and collect the money. When we're done with this street, I'll go back and paint the house numbers in black on the white block while you go on to the next street. Sure thing. Frater agreed readily. He had been given the easier job. He wondered if Beanie's usually sharp mind has been dulled by all the excitement and missed that detail. He didn't wander long. And then, when you're halfway through, we'll switch jobs. Beanie continued. Frater sighed. Work had tightened its noose around him again. Okay, where do we start? Beanie looked at his sheet. Pine Street, the next block over. Come on. Business went well for the two boys all morning. Both were working so hard that neither one noticed the slow disappearance of the sun or the approach of black thunderclouds. Not until they sat down under the big oak tree for lunch together did they notice the first pinhole in their dream bubble. My shadow, Frater mumbled, his mouth full of bologna and bread. What about it? Beanie asked. It's gone, and look up at the sky. It's all clouded up. Beanie looked up. Then he jumped to his feet. Oh no, the newspaper was wrong. It's not going to rain Friday. It's going to rain this afternoon. Frater stuffed the last of his sandwich in his mouth and grabbed a handful of papers. Let's get moving. The two boys worked feverishly for the next 3 hours, running from house to house and curb to curb, slapping on white paint, then black paint. At one point, Frater, somewhat annoyed, stopped Beanie in the middle of the street. You know, some of these people act like they've never even heard of our service before. I have to explain everything to them all over again. This must be one of the streets you canvassed. I've never seen these people before. Beanie waved him aside. Don't get so upset. You know how adults are. They only half listen to you the first time. Come on, we've got to finish up before it rains. We'll meet under the big oak tree when we're done. Frater just started to say more, but just then a large raindrop hit him on the nose. He took off, running towards the next house. It was 4:07 p.m. when Beanie and Frater met under the large oak tree in the center of Town Park. We did it, Frater cried, slapping a paint-spotted hand on his knee. Beanie grinned. The drugstore has a triple-decker fudge sundae just waiting to be eaten. Beat you there. Whoopee! Frater shouted. and down the street the boys raced as the first trickles of rain began to fall. Later, after eating his sundae, Beanie darted home through the pouring rain, singing at the top of his lungs. After all, he had $50 in his pocket for 2 days' work. Nothing could dampen his spirits. Nothing, that is, until he opened the kitchen door at home and saw his mother. Samuel Jedediah Haskins. Beanie knew right then that he was in trouble for something. It took a serious occasion for his mother to remember his full name. But then the telephone rang, and Mrs. Haskins dashed off to answer it. But by the time she came back into the kitchen, Mr. Haskins had come into the room. "Now, dear," he began, "nothing could be that bad." Mrs. Haskins straightened her apron, seized a potato, and began peeling furiously. Beanie was glad it was a potato and not him that she had gotten her hands on. Then the story began to all come out. "It's not just me. All of Briar Cliff is angry with Beanie. The phone has been ringing off the hook." Mrs. Haskins thumped a potato on the counter. "Beanie has painted all the wrong house numbers on all the curbs. A lot of guests have arrived for their anniversary celebration, and they've been driving around town for hours." Beanie sank slowly into a chair. How had it happened? He had planned everything so carefully. Where had the plans gone wrong? "Son?" Dad's one word asked the questions already jumbling around in Beanie's mind. Beanie shuffled through his sheaf of papers, as if the names and addresses hid a secret. Then he began to study the papers more carefully. "Oh, no," he groaned. "Somehow the papers have gotten out of order." He kept shuffling the papers in disbelief. Suddenly the bright scribbling caught his attention. Papers must have gotten mixed up when the baby colored on them. Beanie lay in bed that night listening to the drip, drip, drip of the raindrops. Their dismal tune matched his spirits all too well. He sighed. His father was right. He was responsible for the mix-up, and he was responsible to fix it up. Early the next morning, Beanie and Frater set off for the hardware store again, making a detour to behold the damage they had done the day before. "This must not be one of our streets," Frater said. "There aren't any numbers or white blocks." Beanie didn't even look. "I guess we started with the next one." The two boys trudged on to the next street. "Nope, not this one either," Frater explained. "No blocks and no numbers." On and on the two boys went. On street after street, they found no blocks and no numbers. "This is strange," Frater said. "Did we dream the whole thing yesterday?" Beanie didn't answer right away. Little bells were beginning to ring in the back of his mind. Then, with a tug on Frater's arm, he shouted, "Come on, I think we need to find out from Mr. Akers what the difference is between oil-based and water-based paints." Of course, once inside Mr. Akers' stores, the two boys discovered the secret of the disappearing house numbers. And this time they bought oil-based paint, both black and white. Friday turned out to be a perfect day for repainting house numbers on curves, and Saturday both boys joined the Briar Cliff celebration activities with sunburned arms and money in their pockets.